All right. This is the Tell Me About It podcast, where I need to talk to some interesting people and learn some stuff because I am a little bit thick, people. I'm Stella Graham, and my guest today is the fabulous Michelle De Swarte. Hello, mate.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure. Always good to see you. Now, for anyone who isn't familiar with Michelle, you may have seen her on Netflix on a show called The Duchess. You might have seen her doing stand-up. She's a fabulous stand-up. However, once upon a time, you were a model in New York and
Yes.
all around the place. So I need knowledge, mate. Tell me about what's it like being a model?
Well, all right. So I think I have to kind of, first of all, say that I was a model in the early noughties up until I probably did my last modeling job about 6 years ago. So I did it for about 15 years, I'd say. But modeling's changed now. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Now there's Instagram and there's a lot of there's body positivity. So there's a lot of different types of people modeling. But when I was modeling, it involved, you know, being probably basically having to be sort of a skinny, moody, and fly a lot and not eat too much. Do you know what I mean? But you got to be more specific. What specifically do you want to know about in terms of modeling?
Well, all of it, mate. Let's talk about the trying to stay skinny bit because, like you said, body positivity, not so much pressure in that department. But
Yeah, it didn't
I mean, I've
exist
heard
then.
some stuff like things that models did to try and stay thin.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. Personally, I've always sort of been on the slim side anyway, so I
Uh-huh.
didn't have too much problems. But definitely, like agents were known to, get a girl, and if it was just before Fashion Week, they'd send her to South America to get lipo.
No way.
And yeah, definitely, the girl would already be skinny, and they'd be like, no, skinnier. So but mostly I think the tried and tested diet of not fucking eating, I
Well,
think was what most people did. You know what I mean? What most women did was just like not eat, because that works.
and you
I don't
didn't, you
recommend it, but it
no.
works.
I mean, I heard of people eating like toilet paper, just like,
Yeah, and do you know, I never saw anyone do that. You'd always hear it of people be like, "Oh, what are you doing? Dipping cotton wool balls in orange juice?" And I was like, I'd never seen anyone do it. What I used to see a lot of back then was people doing the like cayenne pepper, lemon juice,
okay.
and what else was it? It was like cayenne pepper, lemon juice, and a little bit of maple syrup, and they'd just drink that for like 5 days until
Uh-huh.
they were just a voice,
Right.
basically. And then some horrible agent would go, "You should probably lose some weight after all of that." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was just kind of laugh and go, it was a weird industry. It was like an industry where you'd get food poisoning, walk back into your agents, and everyone would go, "Oh my God, you look amazing."
Wow.
You know what I mean? But you look like you was at death's
Yeah.
door. And
That
I think,
dehydrated look really works for you.
yeah. And I think back then, getting a bit of E. coli before Fashion Week was the gift.
Okay, so if you go out, lick the pavement, get the
Yeah,
squicks.
Take a nice sip of water from a puddle, lick a pavement, eat a raw egg, and handle some uncooked chicken. And with any luck, you'll be ready for Fashion Week.
Because I know we've talked before about you were in the Duchess on that Netflix show about how good
Yes.
on-set catering is and
Oh,
how
yeah.
it's
Oh, it's
deadly,
amazing. It's
isn't it?
amazing.
It's like
Yeah,
we want you
yeah.
to look skinny, however, just have a quick look at
Well,
the lunchtime
what
banquet we've laid on.
I didn't have that with the Duchess, because of course, we're acting and we're grown-ups and it's Catherine Ryan's show. So there was no pressure to be skinny
Okay.
at all. But I think just for myself,
Yeah.
I definitely noticed a change, because when I started filming, it was just after Edinburgh,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a sober Edinburgh. So
Mm-hmm.
I was walking around loads. Pretty much on a diet of chips, but still managed to come back looking slightly like a crackhead, a little bit like I was
I think
definitely on
that's
the
just doing
skinny side.
Edinburgh.
Yeah. But normally you're drinking, so you're fine, right? You're drinking beer or whatever, so you're getting all those empty calories. But I didn't have that this time, so I came back and then started filming, and was definitely looking crackhead-ish. And then towards
which in the
towards the
modeling world they
end,
would have loved, right?
oh, they would have been like, yes, finally. Oh, she does it in her late 30s. What about when you was in your early 20s when we really needed it? So anyway, when I was doing the Duchess, towards the end, once we moved from location into a studio, and I started realizing that like anything you ask them for, pretty much they'll bring it for you. And I think there was a couple of days where I was like, oh yeah, I have a fry up, thanks. So I thought, oh, we're at the end of filming now. Do you know what I mean? The likelihood of me having to wear the dress I wore at the wedding again is slim. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fine. And yeah, I started asking for like fry ups in the morning. And then the runners took it on themselves that every day I'd go to my dressing room and there would just be a fry up waiting for me. And I'd be like, no, actually today I was going to have granola, which would have been like, yeah, I just started stuffing my face. But it's good. It's good times. And then lockdown. So obviously I'm in tip top shape at the moment.
Yeah, I was always feeling that like on the film sets, the crew, they're just hoeing down on just huge plates of everything. But if you got to be one of the skinny ones, it's like, there you go. Here's your grape. Don't eat it all at once.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Look, man, it's up to you. I always used to think with modeling, I mean, I'm definitely going to sound, this is going to sound like an archaic point of view at this point. But at the time when I was modeling, I know that, you know, sort of people would be like, oh, you know, we're being objectified and blah, blah, blah. And I'd think, you know what you could do? Any other fucking job.
Exactly.
Go do another job then. Do you know what I mean? Go work in the body shop. Go work in Sainsbury's for a fraction of the money. At the time, I was quite harsh on myself and harsh on this. I was just kind of like, just fucking grin and bear it. Now, looking back, I'm like, no, it probably wasn't the healthiest mindset to have. But I was like, well, you're basically saying that you'll pay me 10 grand if I don't eat that burger. Yeah, I can do that.
That's a motivator, isn't it? What's it like having to like walk down the runway?
I mean, it depends who you are. For me, it didn't come naturally. I did not enjoy it. I went from being a bartender to being a runway model. Like literally 1 month I was pulling pints of bitter in an old Gits pub in Clapham. And the month after I was in Milan walking for Missoni and Versace and Dolce & Gabbana and stuff. I say it was a lot. The transition of that, you know, sort of priding myself on having a Brixton bop as it was at the time, you know what I mean? Just like a little bit of a rude girl walk, you know what I mean? To like having to, you know, walk like a gazelle was, yeah, I definitely needed a bit more of a transition period.
I was going to say there's a bit of a difference from like bartending. You might be like carrying a tray full of pints or like, you know, switching over taps and stuff. And then suddenly you've got to be elegant in heels.
Yeah. And I'm just not, and I'm not naturally, like, I like fashion, you know, I like dressing up. I like expressing myself through clothes, but I don't think I necessarily lean into being particularly feminine with it.
Yeah.
So I think doing that, and also doing it at a young age where you're not like really in tune with your sexuality, just seems a little bit ridiculous.
Right. Because I've always found like heels generally quite tricky. I don't enjoy wearing them much. Like the first time I drove a car with high heels, like that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, this was like late 90s, early 2000s. It was a world away. You know, I had a sporty wagon at the time as well. So you put your foot on the gas, like, whoa, hit the brake even harder. I'm like, I'm probably going to kill someone, but I'm still going to town and picking up my mates on the way.
Right, that horsepower.
Isn't it? But did you, am I right in saying you took a tumble on the catwalk?
Yeah, I did.
What was that like?
I did for Gucci. I mean, it was, as you would imagine, it was kind of like peak embarrassment. Do you know what I mean? It happened slowly. And I remember thinking, oh my God, imagine if you fell. And then I fell. So yeah, no, it was, and it was on the news that night. I think I was on like, I was in the news in Milan for a couple of days. And then I was like in the New York Times. I was on the cover of the Evening Standard here.
Seemed in some ways a pretty cool move, no?
It ended up being quite good for me actually, career-wise, because everyone was like, you know, everyone was like, what happened? What happened? And I was like, yeah, I'm not great at walking in heels. And they were like, what?
Were
I was
you
just
giving
like,
it the Brixton bop at the time, or?
I guess, you know what? I don't think I could have done anything different, if I'm honest. So yeah, they were like, what happened? Like, are you on drugs? Are you on heroin? Like, why? What the fuck happened? And I was like, yeah, I just, I just fell over because like,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at walking in heels. And they were like, oh my God, she's so charming. She's so funny. Oh, she approached this with such good humor. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be funny. I literally was just like, yeah, I can't really walk in heels.
You're like,
A
mate.
month ago, I was bartending and now I'm on this runway. I can't walk in heels. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
you're
yeah,
like, dude, I stacked it. It happens.
exactly.
We're not meant to walk on these like weird sort of pointy things. So did that
Yeah, it's
did that
kind of weird, right? Because I guess back in the day, like men used to wear heels and then somehow we started wearing them. And I don't understand. I don't understand how that happened.
See, I
But
reckon it
anyway,
was some crafty dude who's like, if I bother them, it'll be harder for them to run away. So like, why don't we
oh
slow them
yeah.
down a bit, make their feet really uncomfortable?
Most of the things that we wear that are meant to be appealing to the opposite sex restrict us in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be a pencil skirt so you can't take a full stride, whether it be high heels so you can't walk or run anywhere at speed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just everything is slightly restrictive.
These are all
That's
like
meant
slowing
to
down
appeal to the
tactics.
opposite.
Having
Well,
said
I
that,
don't.
though, we do adapt. I mean, if it's 3 a.m. in my younger years and there was a taxi coming, I learned to
Right,
run in heels pretty quick.
right. Yeah. Fair
I mean,
enough.
your feet will be caning the following day.
It's all part of it, man. Means you've had a really good night. I don't wear any of that stuff now. I rarely wear heels.
Honestly,
I
same.
definitely wouldn't buy a new pair of heels at this point in my life.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like, I've got loads. I don't wear them. I wouldn't go out. I'd see high heel shoes and be like, oh my God, they're amazing. But you know what else is amazing? Walking at a normal speed in comfort. Also
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
absolutely. Having feet that don't cane and not getting blisters,
Right?
that's not
Exactly.
hot. So
Mm.
when you look at Instagram modeling now, is there a bit of you that looks at it and thinks, you lucky cows? Or how do you feel?
No, look, in all honesty, like I had a pretty amazing career. I got to do things that I never dreamed of doing. Yeah, it's a fucking stupid job, but not everyone can do it this is what's weird about modeling. Only certain people can do it, but those people can be from any background and any color. So
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of a weird equalizer. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so shallow that somehow, I guess its shallowness is so wide. There's a kind of depth to it. So when I look at Instagram now, really what I think is like, isn't it fucking amazing that the agency's been cut out? Because
Okay.
as a model, what you don't understand is a lot of these girls are from, you know, maybe like you know, countries that don't have a lot of money or their families don't have a lot of money. So at a young age, they're the breadwinner and maybe they're giving up their education to go and model so they can pay for their mum's electric or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what you don't know is in modeling, you might get, let's say you do a job and it's 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Happens
money,
all
isn't
the
it?
time. Yeah.
Happens all the time, right? Not so much anymore, but in my heyday, that's the kind of fees you were getting, right? So it's 10 grand, but the agency are gonna take at least minimum 90 days to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if you're foreign, let's say I lived in New York, right? So that would be 20% to the agency and 30% to the client I'd have to pay. I don't know why, but that's just kind of the weird way it works.
Okay.
So sorry, 30% tax, 20% to the agency, plus the client would also, the agency would also take 30% off the client. So you, let's say, okay, so that's 5 grand.
Mm.
Also, they take out all these weird fucking expenses that don't
Okay.
exist. Do you know what I mean? So it looks like 10 grand on paper. It's probably in your pocket 5 months down the road, actually 3 grand. And if, let's say, you come from a country like England, where the pound is stronger than the dollar, that's actually 2. So your family might be like, well, you said you had a job for fucking 10 grand. So why can't you get me a pair of Timberlands when you're out in America? Also get your cousin Stephen one. Also get your brother one. Also your mum wants a new cooker. And you're like, I actually don't have enough money to do that. And they're like, but you did that job for 10 grand. And you're like, but the reality is £2,000, really.
Wow.
You know
So I
what
think
I
if we've
mean?
learned anything, we don't tell family how much the
Don't
top
tell-
line on the contract
Right,
was.
don't tell family. So when I see these girls on Instagram or women or men or whatever, and they're selling some stuff and it just says ad, hashtag ad, I think, good for you. You're getting all of that money. Well done. So I think there's a bit of snobbery where some sort of models are being like, you know, who's your agent? Who's your agent? Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I hope it is. Good.
There we
You know what I
go.
mean?
There we go.
Yeah.
Lean into those Instagram agents.
100%.
Everybody loves a shout out. Would you like to
Yes.
shine a spotlight on a mate?
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to shine a spotlight on a comic that I love called Fatiha. Do you know her?
Yes.
Isn't she great?
Yeah.
Fatiha, is it Fatiha El Ghorri?
Yes.
I think that's right. Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to her because I think she's amazing and I'm slightly obsessed with her.
Okay.
I'm definitely in the fan house. I'm like, oh my god, you're so good. So I would urge anyone to go and check her out. Have a little Google and see some of her work because she's really funny.
All right. And if we want to follow what you're doing, what's on the cards for you? What you're up to next?
Well, you can see me on Netflix on The Duchess playing Catherine's best friend. You can find me on Instagram. Well, I will be modeling. You can find me on Instagram, and hopefully things will open up again and you can see me live. I normally gig at Top Secret Comedy Club, so I'd like to give them a shout out because they've been really good. So yeah.
All right.
Who
Lovely
knows
stuff.
anymore?
Exactly. I know. All of the links to all of your good stuff will be posted just below here on YouTube.
Nice,
Michelle, always a pleasure. Great to hang out with you.
Always a pleasure. Thank
All
you.
right. Cheers.